Hey guys, it's Tuesday afternoon and it's another Speedway chat show. And here is my buddy, Charlesy.
You've frozen to me, Jerry, but yes, I'm still here. Oh, you're a bit delayed.
Huh?
Yes, wait, we back? Are you on?
Yeah, I'm all here.
Welcome to my hotel room in sunny Maidstone in Kent. Yes.
There we go.
Yes, if anyone's in the Maidstone area, wants to buy me a drink, feel free to come to town tonight.
There we go. So we have got a brilliant show for you this evening. Sadly, since when we announced that Rob Godfrey was coming on the show, he then got back in contact again and said that he has to cancel as he has prior engagements because of the news of things that have come out today. So it meant that we either had to cancel the show or me and Charles, jumped straight on a live chat with him and we pre-recorded the video and we are going to play that for you in a second. So even though we said before you could ask your questions, we did have a load of questions for him, but he pretty much answered everything that we had lined up to question him on. But please keep the comments coming in throughout the message, throughout the interview, and we will try and answer any questions we possibly can. And we've got two possible riders who are going to come and talk as a rider's perspective on what's happened today with the new announcement of the Premier League and Championship being cancelled for 2020. So, also comment below where you're watching from, just so we can get a load of people watching and knowing where everyone is. And Charlesy?
Yeah, look, it's so important. Like everyone was faced with that news today, weren't they? And the prospect of having Rob on the show live was great. However, we've dived into Rob with the questions, because most of the questions that come in were similar related. What can we do? What can't we do? What's happening? So we've done our best, guys, to bring you something straight from the horse's mouth today and the reasons behind it. So it's been a bit of a afternoon, to be fair. But look, great place, Maidstone in Kent. Geez, it's dear for alcohol down here, Jerry.
It's dear?
Yeah.
Well, you are from Newport, so
anything. I'm trying to scab some free ones, but nah, just joking. I'll pay the money. So yes, we also have Monday night a very popular guest, or a popular requested guest for next Monday. So we'll announce that towards the end of the show as well.
So stick along round to the end and you will get to find out who that is. So
don't diss Newport. Who's this in Newport? Miss Welland? Welland? Oh, I always call her Wellard. I don't know why. Look, hi from Swindon. Yeah, hi everyone. This is nice. I think we got some good answers out of Rob. Like, the audio is a little bit patchy at times, guys. But
it's not as bad as when we interviewed Midlow, so that's something.
No.
And Rob did apologise profusely and did say that he is more than happy to come back on another show to interact with you guys, but he couldn't get out of his other engagement this evening. So let's go to it, and let us know your thoughts. Keep the comments coming in, and we can pop things up on the screen. So enjoy. Stream. Hey guys, so we've got Rob Godfrey here, chairman of the BSPA, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what's been announced today with the cancellation of the 2020 season. Hey Rob, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah. So let's jump straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision that's been made today? You know, what class professional speedway and non-professional speedway are we going to get to see some racing this year? And I'll let you answer as many of the questions that we've already got first, and then we'll go back over what we got.
Okay, so obviously we've been working extremely hard on this. We've been following all the way through from the time that effectively which was 17th, and hoping that somewhere along the line we would be able to restart. But the last government announced he specifically stadiums and October, and coupled with the fact that he gave the power to the local authorities to shut you down, and the fact of what's happening in Leicester. I mean, they expected it only to be 2 weeks, it's 4 weeks. We just felt that it was not possible to creditable link together for our broadcasting partners, for our fans, for sponsors, etc. Took it as far as we possibly could, and there was a time when we had to make a decision. Was last week, basically, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's going forward, so we can make an announcement today.
So, Rob, that means, the professional word means, so no premiership, no one that makes money, but what National League, Development League, whatever you want to call it now, can some speedways still run in a competitive form?
Yeah, we absolutely believe that we believe that the National League is a total separate Development League. The riders are not professionals. They're not professional riders. We are actively looking at putting something together at National League level. We're announcing it on our media sites, on the British Speedway, Twitter site, etc. As when we put something together, practically, we put this to bed today, and now we're trying to see what we can do. We believe putting Speedway into stadiums. We're actively asking Speedway clubs who want to be involved. And if you want to be involved, you need to get local authority approved. Mine came through yesterday. I'm probably not the first, because I think Berwick have as well. At least two clubs that have got that approval to start running some Speedway, but we need more clubs to be able to put something credible together, certainly at National League level as well.
So is it totally out of the window to do meetings behind closed doors?
No.
So
So
the professional riders can race but behind closed doors.
Yeah, and that you see that. That's another aspect of what's talked about at the minute. There's one or two clubs that want to do that as well. We will, endorse now. Have no TV going forward. They want to, if they want to closed off, they want to stream it, etc. That open to anybody that wants to do it now. Obviously, everybody, as you know, we need the fans. They are in the sports, and it is very difficult without him. And that's what we've been waiting for all the way up. And unfortunately, it's not coming. It may come late September, early August, October. Okay, you may see some individual elite, as we call them now, elite freeway ride. And that is a real possibility as well. But for the medium term, short term to medium term, National League level meetings will hopefully go ahead in this country.
Right. So a forward on question from that. So people are asking, can 14 tournaments run? Can those sort of events, knockout cups? But I guess with an influx of foreign riders, and especially with my mates from Australia who are overseas, they're not going to come just to do those sorts of meetings because it's not financially viable. So is that really not even possible to have those sort of fixtures that everyone looks forward to each year?
Well, that's the problem is with that. We don't know we're going to put people in stadiums to do them kind of meetings. We know now that if your stadium is COVID secure and you are allowed to do development type with limited amount of spectators in there. So that's the first step. As I say, when the guidelines from the government are extended, then there'll be opportunities for maybe Robert Lamb to come back here, and we might do a British final. But certainly we wouldn't, my very good friend Alan, I wouldn't expect to come back at this late stage for a few meetings. None of the lads could really, in Australia now, as you'll be aware, they've got to pay to isolate themselves when they go back. It's usually around about $4,000. The $4,000 flights, the economic, it's not going to happen. It would be UK-based right on, I would have thought.
Right. So when we talk about that, you mentioned British final. No British final.
It's not off the cards at the minute. It's still in there. We're waiting on the next government announcement when that will be. As I say, Boris said the other day that he was looking at October for people in stadiums again. So maybe late October. You never know. Never know. It's definitely not off the table at this time. It's still something that we will, if we possibly can, to make. Definitely. Certainly the 21 19s as well. I mean, they come under the development banner as such. So you should see them kind of taking place.
Okay. And is the National League, is that going to be the National League as we know it, or is there going to be any sort of movement with averages or anything like that? So, for instance, let's say a second string rider who's in the championship, then there's not going to be any movement to get them in, because there is going to be a bracket of riders that aren't riding in Poland and stuff like that literally are out of a job right now, isn't there? There
is, but you have to play by the rules, and the rules say that if they are professional riders, then they can't. Unfortunately, it's sad to say they can't have a job. Yeah. Situation. Yeah, if you're not a professional rider, but we have to be careful what we do. We have to play within the rules. Capitals will be stadiums from now, and then they'll be everything be squeaky clean. If we put national events on, they have to be nationally riders. They have to don't necessarily earn a living out of Speedway.
Right. We've had a question as well, Rob, which I've you know what, I mentioned this right at the start of this when we started this show. The investment into clubs and riders around club sponsorship, personal sponsorship, Kevlars, team uniforms, bikes, to go and ride for somewhere begs the question: does the BSPA have any thoughts on perhaps saying the team you assembled this year is the team that you ride with in 2021, excluding retirements, from the sport or injuries and things like that? Because, we've seen some riders go to an effort and clubs that have, team setups, Rob. So my thing for the riders is I personally know how expensive it has been with my involvement, and what happens to those brand new squeaky clean Kevlars and race bikes? Or does the BSPA go, no, here's a point change for 2021 and, do this? What can you elaborate on that situation?
Well, all I can say is at the very beginning, this was the plan of attack for 21, that if we did roll over, or if we start the season, originally starting a lot earlier, maybe and a half, etc., but there was a will from the very beginning for every single team to keep the team, barring anybody retiring. Or, if we were doing a season after getting injured, that's not going to happen now. You wouldn't have thought. Yeah, but there's definitely, you have to get an AGM, but there's definitely a will for this to happen. There is, I assemble a team, and my fans haven't seen the track, and they're not liable to this year, and all at this point want to come back next year. So we're giving them stability, giving them the jobs.
Yeah,
that's all we can give them at this point. But definitely, I would not bet against that happening.
So, and just before Jerry asks for one, so just take my fellow Australians, for example, that's still that race. How does that work? Legality around visas, will that be something that the BSPA supports these riders in making sure that their visa is, continued or valid for next year?
Yeah. Well, we've already been in contact with UKVI and, put the the point across. I mean, I can only I can relate to Ryan. You know, Jake stayed, and he was penalised because he stays a British, pays the VAT, pays his taxes, but unfortunately wasn't still able to get any public resources. But you know, what we've said to the UK, look, the pay for the visa.
Fine, Rob.
Yeah. Got it. We've told to the UKBI and explain the situation. We're hopeful that they'll extend by every single rider. We are making representation, but as you'll appreciate, what with Brexit and everything else, everything seems to forgot about. Their hands are full at the time, but there is emails and correspondence at the table. That was done a long while ago because it was something that we realised we need to sort out. So yeah, I expect that will not be an issue.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
What do you got there, Jess?
What you got?
So we got this one here. Do you know of any clubs that are looking to run individual meetings this year?
Yes. There's quite. You'll look at. You'll be able to work them out yourselves. The ones that own their own stadiums that generate, they will look to support everything they can, whether it's a professional rider we can or actual riders now. So yes, there will be some clubs on individual meetings, team meetings as well. You know, if I get an opportunity to run a national league team, I prefer to run a challenge rather than an individual challenge. So we're all everything. It's a new chapter today. It's a new script. So, we started the ball.
I quickly seen a post on social media saying that you guys at Scunthorpe are actually running a national league team. Is that right? I didn't read the post. I just quickly seen it. Is that a possibility for the rest of the teams to just drop down and do a national league team if we can find enough riders?
Yeah. All I've coached at the minute is that centre on something at national league development level. If there's not me to run a team, absolutely we'll run a team. We'll give the. We've got some great riders in this. The quality of Speedway at national league level is very good. So if we have opportunity, it's not clear cut yet that is what we're going to do. That's what we'll be doing. The first thing I'm hoping to do is get the British resurrect the British Youth Championship, because that is definitely something that we can all do. We can get on track. We can to the conclusion with the British Youth Championship. My first meeting probably will be that event, and then we'll move on from there. That's been sorted.
In a funny way, like this actually could be really good for British Speedway because it's giving the younger riders, the development riders, that opportunity to get some racing in. And if half of the tracks turn around and say, right, we're going to do a national league team, it's going to get a lot more people out on their bikes, and that close that gap between the championship and the national league. You know, so for 2021, I think there's going to be a load of good kids come from the national league that are going to be championship ready.
Yeah, I mean, we had our first on post lockdown, and incidentally, it was fantastic. It was fantastic to see racing. Annie King was there, and played by the amount of talent there, and you know, there was elbows in first from these youngsters, everything. But there is a massive. People don't realise how big the youth scene is in this country until you come to places like Scunthorpe, Kings Lynn, or maybe Redcow, and you know there is a massive following, and these are the next generation Speedway riders. We tested it in this program a long time ago. It is coming to fruition. I won't single out riders, but the event on Sunday that are ready to go in. So one or two of them are ready to go into the championship. Never. They really have excelled these last couple of years. But an opportunity would give them as many opportunities. So.
Yeah.
So my local track is Plymouth, and we got Ben Trigger there, and he's just gone onto a 500. But like, I remember when I was his age, you know, I was lucky if I went to Somerset. This kid's driving it. Well, he's not. His dad is driving out to Poland for European races and things like that. And it is insane the level that they're at. And they've got like a full size van. They've got multiple bikes, and it is he travels to Scotland and all sorts of places like weekly during the season last year. It's great.
Well, a certain individual was at Redcar Saturday. He travelled back to my place on some Saturday night. He stayed in the car back. I had time to go to bed at 10 o'clock because they were keeping me awake. And then he was racing. He was racing Sunday. So the commitment. There's some commitment. Not just Ben and his father, from a lot of people at the youth, because they just take them every opportunity, and they're the hero, much as the kids are, really.
Yeah. Just quickly as well, Rob. One of my close friends was supposed to have a testimonial this year. Todd Kurtz at Sheffield. Is the BSPA? I know Todd wasn't the only one, but is the BSPA standing by their testimonials and granting that permission next year?
Once you've granted a testimonial, you can take it within the next 20 years. So yeah,
sure.
There's no absolutely. Once it's granted, it's never rescinded.
Well, the only reason I'm asking, because he's asked me to do the MC at the meeting, I just want to know if I've still got a job, Rob. That's all.
Yeah. Still got a job, man. Still got a job.
You still got your 15p a mile.
He's paying my whole fuel, he reckons. Jesus.
Oh wow.
I know.
10p a mile.
Yeah. Look. Really, thanks for coming on. I think our viewers tonight. And look, unfortunately, we couldn't do it live because you got commitments. But I think what we've covered just now is, really appreciate you coming on and clearing over. Yeah, we might miss some things unless you got more, Jerry. But
I think I was going to have some other questions that aren't on the news of today. My big thing is like my company, we do like advertising and media for small business and things like that. So now that this has happened for 2021, is there going to be extra advertising, extra big push on getting people back to Speedway more than there has been before?
If you read the press release today, and especially the Eurosport, Eurosport blew us away because not only points as much as we are, but they want to being our media partner for going, and they don't have February. Sorry, what am I talking about? September. I want to start now weekly meetings on how to promote it going forward, so that when we get to March, it's a bigger and better bang, bigger and better show. So you're going. We'll hopefully keep people up to speed on what we will be doing with Eurosport. About Eurosport, it's about companies like that we now employ. We're here with Hatfield, looking for active. We had a sponsor. We probably think was league sponsor for next year, and the other things that company is doing for the sport. We are actually growing, and certainly with the Eurosport commitment that they've given us over the last 24 hours, we expect bigger and better things. Honestly, it's quite exciting. There's a negative, but the positive is the Eurosport attitude to this sport, because they love it. They've never filmed one yet, but they love our attitude, love our positivity, and they want to work with us. So we can't be any more happier than that. Be any more proud. And
will that just be the Premiership like it is now?
No, they're looking at everything, to be honest. They're looking at this league, at everything. They want to understand it a lot bit. They do understand it. And working best at Discovery Eurosport, we've got to be so proud of that we've got to here, and we've got media to work with. So as I say, it was a difficult call then, but it was such a joyous one at the end of it. So
cool. That's a good sign.
I don't smile. Wow, that was unexpected. Very thankful for you.
And the most important question of all, well, there's two questions, is have you seen the Speedway Chat Show before today?
No.
No.
Someone said to me the other day, says, your name was on this Speedway Chat Show. I said, what? You were there waiting. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you on? No, apologise, but I haven't.
But you're a fan now, aren't you, Rob?
But now you're a fan, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to buy a hat like this.
You buy a hat like his. No, don't buy his. It's got Woofy written on it.
That hasn't. No, this is technical wizard. It means.
All right. Technical wizard. There you go. You could add another 2 letters on that, and it'd say something completely different, Chelsea.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, you've been called it many times. All right, Rob. So we'll let you go, and yeah, thanks very much. Yeah. And it was a good chat. Yeah.
I'll do it. Oh, if you want me on again, no problem. Just ask. No problem at all. As I say, we're on a week. I didn't realise what I got to do tonight. I apologise for not being on there live, but any other time I'll do it. If you want to do it on any other time, just let us know. No problem at all.
Yeah, I think the fans will like that. It'll be great. Yeah.
And I'll make
no, brilliant.
Home next time and so no problem.
And next time I'm up,
you get a studio like this.
I'll be sure to have a free ticket to the Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. Thanks, Rob. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Right, Rob. Thank you. All right. Realise I was on mute, sorry. So that was our chat with Rob Godfrey, and Childsy has disappeared. His phone has died or lost signal or something, so he's no longer here. But please put into the comments what you think of what Rob had to say. There is some light in the fact that there is going to be some Speedway, and some of the bigger events, if there are some meetings that are going to get put on, they can be run behind closed doors. If that's all the Speedway that we're going to get this year, I think it's better than no Speedway at all. But I do have someone in the background that we can ask his perspective of today's news, and that's Mr. Rory Schlein. How are you, Rory?
How are we, mate?
Oh, you got a bit of a delay on your.
Are we there? Are we live?
Yeah, we're all good. So, how did it come to you as a surprise today with the news of no professional racing this year?
No, not really. The way all the signs were pointing that we weren't going to come out of a lockdown as simple as the government might say it is, but it's just disappointing, mate. Just anyone who's a fan of the sport is just going to be absolutely gutted. So no one's been in these circumstances before, whether you're a rider, a fan, a sponsor, promoter, anything really. So everyone just has to sort of take it on the chin and try and do the best with it as what they can do.
For sure, it's not anybody's fault, is it? It's just is what it is.
We can sincerely point fingers and this and that, and they've done this wrong, or we should have done this, or we should have done that. I think every country is going to be having their own issues, their own delays, their own setbacks. So we can only worry about what we're doing here.
Yeah. So if there is a possibility of having a meeting, because you'd be classed as one of the professional riders, obviously, which means that you're not allowed to race in front of a crowd until October 1st. If there's an opportunity to ride behind closed doors, is that something you'd be keen to do?
Well,
or is it just load the bikes in the workshop and wait till 2021?
It'd be hard to sort of go. Like I had a practice last Wednesday at Somerset, So, and I'd only turned 20 laps up until then, in March, just to bet in some new bikes and stuff. So I really haven't had any track time, and to go straight to the tapes would be not ideal, but I think everyone will be in the same boat, I guess. But I think there's a lot of ifs and a lot of buts whether that will happen. I've heard rumours of going to do some live streaming meetings and stuff like that around the country, but
could be a good opportunity to win a British final.
maybe. Look, I'm just going to sit tight, and if something pops up and there are some meetings and it fits in with what I'm doing now. Obviously, I'm working full time, so we've got to just sit tight. And if there are opportunities where we can race and maybe earn a little bit of money, then great.
Yeah. So, how has lockdown been for you? Is it
busy?
Yeah.
Busy.
Is it Hermes, isn't it? You're working?
Yeah, we're working direct for Hermes. So yeah, it's been flat. I haven't had we've been working every day. There've been points where we've been doing 12, 14-hour shifts, and it's been absolutely crazy. People got nothing better to do than to order stuff online. So we're busy.
It's better to be busy and get your head there instead of sat at home waiting for stuff to happen. But
yeah, I think I would have gone nuts by now if I was stayed at home and whatnot. So yeah, it's kept me busy, and I've met some really cool people there, and it's just another like everyone. I think everyone sort of had to change their plans and maybe get jobs they didn't expect and whatnot. So it's for me it's been a bit of a godsend.
Yeah. And have you spoke to many of the other riders?
We've been going backwards and forwards on our WhatsApp groups, and we're all the same, just absolutely gutted. And you want to. Everyone was trying to be positive all the way through this, because people want to go racing. All the guys wanted to go racing. Especially Wolves were in a difficult situation where we had three guys in Australia and we had 2 guys in America, and obviously Jacob was in Poland, and no one knew what the quarantine rules were going to do and what was happening, and the uncertainty was probably killing CVS really bad, and just not knowing what to do, how to go about it, and no different for Debbie down at Somerset. Her business come to literally a standstill, and hasn't reopened since. I think she's only had the practice, which was the other night. So so many people have their own stories and their own struggles, and like I said, we just got to try and struggle through it and hopefully come out the other side and it all smells of roses.
Yeah, for sure. So has anybody got any questions for Rory on the perspective of a rider, going through obviously what they've just had today? It's a tough time with especially when they're thinking it's not only going to be a few more weeks and we could get back to racing, and to be given this shock news today that there is not going to be any racing. If there are individual meetings and stuff like that, how many do you reckon there could be this season? Is it worth getting your bikes dirty and having your mechanics come around and all your kit that you've had to get for this season? This is something that Chelsea was saying earlier. There's an amount of outlay that you have at the beginning of the season which you have to recoup. How many meetings do you need to do before you're like, okay, it's worth me doing it, or do I just, like I said, pack it up and leave it in the workshop?
Every rider will have their budget and whatnot, what they set out at the beginning of the year, and to come back for say 3 or 4 open meetings is it worth it? Probably not. You'd rather keep the kit fresh and ready for the following season, but you just don't know. When these open meetings, if they do happen, will they be financial viable for the promoters themselves? And they'll have to be realistic, and they'll have to offer some sort of financial deal to the riders that has incentive for them to make the effort to come. And every rider has different engine tuners, and I was due to get some service from Johnsy, getting ready for for the start of the season. I was going to drop them off, literally weeks, maybe before the start of the season, because I didn't really want to get them serviced and then have them sit there all winter, and now get them sat there, get them, So there's so many things to think about. It's it's just not packing up the bikes and going to the track. You got to think about engines, tires, all sorts of things, and fuel. I ordered quite a bit of fuel at the start of the year, and I probably won't be able to use that next year because it'll be sat there for the whole year. So, hopefully I can offload it somewhere.
Yeah. So Nathan Stoneman says, how many parcels do you deliver a day?
How many did I deliver today? I didn't deliver too many, but I picked up around about, I think it was 450 parcels today. So it was a bit of a quiet day today.
Wow. This is not a question for you, but my mum's asked, where do I hire a cherry picker for close practice and meetings? That's actually really funny from my mum. How much do you love the Bellevue fans?
I love about 99.9% of them, I reckon. There's a bit of a love-hate there. There's a small section of fans that I've had a run in previously, but I think it's good. Things like that create a bit of atmosphere and whatnot, and I think things like that can be very good. The interaction I've had with I think they were the Mexican Mad Hatters, I think they were called. Not one. I think there's been more than one occasion I've had a few run-ins with these guys. So, but things like that, I think only good for the sport. As long as it's not violent or anything like that. But I think the last year I had, they threw some bottles at me on the back straight at Bellevue, and one of the beers was still filled sort of, and I had a bit of a swig after each 15 while I was still on the bike, and I threw it back.
Brilliant. So what's your thoughts on the team staying the same for next season, or you reckon they should just start fresh and you go wherever?
Well, I think logically, as long as they just keep everything the same, I think everyone majority would be happy to just stay as they are. Some clubs may need to change a few things depending on rider availability, as in whether their visas are current and all that sort of stuff. So, but I think most promoters will want to just keep everything the same.
So that's something that Rob was saying before, that all the riders, like for instance the Aussies and stuff that have got their visas, if it runs out this year, they've already applied for them to have an extension on their visa for another 12 months because of COVID-19. You've already answered this one, I think. Apart from fuel, everything will be good for next year, won't it?
Yeah, like my bikes were built up by Ben Rose in the winter, and with new clutches, engine plates, and all sorts of stuff, new wheels. They're all refurbed and ready to go, and so I was pretty much set. So. Like I said, I only practiced at Somerset on Wednesday, and I did a few laps just to bed the bikes in March, and that was it. So they are fresh and ready to go for next year. If that is the next time I will, ride. Yeah.
So there's one here to plug. Have you got a farewell meeting? It's not testimonial, is it?
Either. It doesn't matter. It'll be a farewell because that was what the original plan was. So. It will obviously a new date will be set for next year. I'm not going to rush into setting anything yet until we get to a point where we can start looking at fixtures with Chris from Wolves. So it'll just sort of be something that will happen over the winter. As early as I can, I'll get it released. But we just got to sit tight and wait till we get some sort of fixture list for the next year.
So will you be going home to Australia in the winter, this winter?
No, because I'll be working. I'd like to, but I think because we were originally going to go home for good, we'll just knuckle down and spend one last Christmas. We thought we'd already spent our last Christmas in England, so we'll spend another one here, and we'll fly home the following year.
Cool, and then that's it. You're the whole family moving back to Oz then?
Yeah, that's it. Going to go back there, put on weight, shout abuse online, do all the normal things that retired riders do.
Brilliant. So you don't ride in Poland anymore?
No, I had a short stint last year in Poland with Woods. I had a few offers at the beginning of the year, but because I was sort of mentally, it was my last year, I wanted to sort of not be busy and stuff like that. So I was quite happy just to do England with the 2 leagues and just to last year. What a lot of people don't realise when you do race in Poland, the added pressures, not just financially but mentally. The setups you got to run out there, as in new other vans, full-time mechanic workshops. And then you add in all the flying and the hotels and the time you spend away from your family and stuff like that. So it's a big thing to take on, and I just wasn't prepared to do that.
So this has been asked before in other videos, but what's the situation with sponsors? Are they sticking by you even though there's no racing, or is it sort of like we'll just hold on to this until next year and we'll go again?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty lucky where a lot of my sponsors, we done our deals, and whatever it was, whether it was cash or product, I had a lot of it sent to me before the obviously we went into lockdown, so I was fairly lucky in that aspect. There was a couple that we've just put it on standby until next year, so we'll wait and see what happens. You got to be realistic. Speedway doesn't operate without sponsors. Sometimes you got to be there for your sponsors, and do what you can for them. So as I know, I'll still be on board with a lot of my sponsors, including Parry's International, ATPI, Rock Oil, 059. So a lot of these companies that have been with me for a while will continue their support next year.
Brilliant. I think this one's a wind-up question, but if you win the British final, which flag would you be draping yourself in? An Aussie or a British flag?
There's only one flag I could wear, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be a bit of a joke if you won the British final.
Well, it wouldn't be a joke. It'd be quite cool because I'd go to Cardiff, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would go to Cardiff, yeah. So generally, are the open meetings, are they different, like pay, or how much you get? No, not how much you get paid, but is there a big difference in pay in doing an individual meeting to doing a normal league meeting?
It depends really. It depends on the open the actual meeting you're doing. There's been cases where you get paid per point plus prize money on the final. There's also just been meetings where it's just prize money from first all the way down to 16. I've done a couple open meetings. I just got a set fee. Didn't matter if I won or lost or whatever, and that I just got that. So it just depends really on your negotiations with the promoter of that meeting. So everyone's deal could be different.
Apparently, the Mancunian Mexicans is.
That's them. Yeah. I'm more than happy to have them come to my farewell meeting. I'll supply the hats as well if they want it.
There you go. There's an offer. What's he got there? F2. Have you ever ridden one of those F2 bikes?
No, I haven't. I've seen them around. I've looked at one close up. I've never ridden one. I'm not sure. I'm a bit skeptical on them. They're not designed for Speedway, the engines themselves, so that they don't have the characteristics to do what you want. Like, you only have to look at the engines now. That's why a lot of people complain about all these slick tracks and stuff like that. If you had grippy tracks, you'd have crashes in every race. So there's a reason why tuners have gone that way. Tracks started getting slicker, so they make the bikes more aggressive. So they're designed to be a motocross bike or whatever they are. They're not designed to be a speedway bike. So You know, you don't go and put a sprint car engine in a Formula One engine in a Formula One car, because it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So I'm just going through these questions. There's a lot of looking forward to can you come to testimony. Oh, someone met your mum. There we go. We've all met your mum.
Yeah. Who hasn't?
I love it when she goes on a full rant on Facebook. There's like no holding back.
No, well, you'll get everything from her, and she'll give it 2 bobs worth as well.
Yeah. Might get a few more bottles thrown at you at Bellevue if you won the British final.
Well, I'd take a whole keg. They could throw kegs at me if I won the British final. I wouldn't care.
There we go. Well, like you said before, you'd get to ride at Cardiff. So
yeah.
There we go. Right. So what would the situation with that be? There's no British Grand Prix. So if you won it this year, you wouldn't get your wild card, because the wild card would be the following year, wouldn't it?
I only come halfway through. I was in the background, but I was listening to Rob. I don't know whether they are going to run the British final. Is that going to go ahead? I don't.
He did say it's open. They are trying to run the British final, and that will be meetings that is run behind closed doors. Because everyone's there to win that one, aren't they? If you know what I mean, it's not.
I guess obviously that they need that meeting to go ahead anyway to sort out for GP qualifying spots as well. So because I believe they are still taking place, the GP qualifying. So I do believe that has to run really. So it gives everyone a fair crack at going for next year's Grand Prix. So if that come along, if the British final come along, I don't know how the selection process would take place, because normally they run a couple of semi-finals. I know I got seeded last year. The year before I did the semis, so I don't know how the selection would work. Would it go on the averages or anything like that? So I'm guessing that if they did run semis, that they would have to be behind closed doors as well.
So what would happen if next year you was in the British final, you went and won it, and then you're at Cardiff and you get through to Grand Prix qualifiers and all the rest of it? What would you do?
I'm still going back to Oz. That's just fairy tale stuff. But for me, I've made my decision. I've had my day in the sun, and I'm even if we went on some sort of extraordinary run like that.
Doyley did it. He was about our age when he came good.
Doyley's a little bit different though. He at the time, I don't think he had a missus, and he didn't have kids and stuff like that. So my priorities lie elsewhere, and I want to enjoy the other side of life now. So,
do you know what you're going to do when you go back to Oz?
Drink a lot of rum.
Drink a lot of rum.
For me at the minute, it's an open book. So I have some things that I'm looking into and I'm interested in. So it's just something we'll sort out. As time goes on. The missus, she's a nurse, so she'll have work to go into. When we go back there. So things are we're slowly getting into place. When we were going to go back there. So. We'll just be a normal family, living the good life out in Oz.
Yeah. Where in Oz are you from? You're Victorian, you?
No. Originally we're from Darwin, up north, but we're based. Well, we will be based down south in Adelaide. So that's where my mum and dad are, and my sister. My brother is living in Mildura at the minute, so. He's based there, so that's only about 4.5 hour drive away. So
real close in Australia's terms.
Pretty much, yeah.
So is there any British club that you would like to have ridden for and you haven't had a chance?
It's a hard one, that one, actually. I've ridden for a lot of them. I come close very, very early on to ride for Poole when I had my 2004 My last year in the Premier League was 2004. I was riding with Bellevue at the time, doubling up. I was very, very close to riding at Poole at that stage. Whether we'd signed there, would things have turned out different? I don't know. The following year I broke my back, in 2005. So, but yeah, that was sort of a place where I always enjoyed racing Poole, and it was another club that was run very, very well. And but if I was to say a club that sort of was a little bit special was Cradley Heath, because when I was little, I used to have loads of stuff brought to me, from friends and family and that back. Breastplates from Cradley Heath and programs and all sorts of stuff. So I know I never saw the track or anything like that, but I always sort of read the Speedway Star and stuff like that. Just something about Cradley Heath was quite special.
I remember the first time that I met you. It was at Edinburgh. I think I was meant to ride for Trelawney, and I went and broke my wrist like the week before or something like that, and I ended up going with Stefan Mell, the German guy. I went with him in the van, and we got there, and I would have ended up being in the team, and it would have been my first Premier League meeting and this and the other, and I couldn't ride because I had this broken wrist, and I was going to cut my plaster off to try and ride and this and the other, and then they turned around and they were going to use you, and Edinburgh wouldn't allow you to ride for Trelawney because you were too good. And I was like, who the hell is this kid? And then you went out afterwards, and I went, fuck yeah, he's quick. You would have done a lot better than I ever would have done.
Yeah, that year, because I was supposed to ride for the Edinburgh Monarchs Conference League team that year, and that fell through. So I ended up riding for Sheffield Prowlers. And once I started riding and scoring some points, every at the time, which was called the Premier League, every club was using me. Like Glasgow were using me. Of all clubs, back then, Edinburgh allowed me to ride for Glasgow, and I was riding for Newport. Did meetings for Sheffield. Just everyone at that stage. And Newport was like, I remember Tim Stone was so desperate that he was begging and begging Edinburgh to sign me for Newport, but Edinburgh just would not let, because they wanted to keep me on my 3-point average for the following year. Yeah,
they said that you'd score too many points against them, so they wouldn't let you ride. Yeah, I think Lemo was there or something like that. I think it was Lemo. Or was anyway. Nathan Stoneman again. Do you prefer Chinese or Indian? Is there an inside joke there?
Chinese.
Chinese. No, it doesn't happen to me. Right. Did you ride at Exeter at the county ground? And if so, what did you think?
Yes, I did. I got everyone was talking to me about how scary this place was, and like, the steel fence and all this sort of stuff. And I just thought, steel fence. I said, well, I'm from Australia. We raced on sprint car tracks and stuff like that with concrete barriers. But it wasn't literally the fence that got to me. It was realizing that I needed rear suspension, which I found out very quickly going down the back straight at Exeter. I think it was in my second ride, I snapped the rear end, and we had to change bikes. And so it was an eye opener, because I'd never seen a track prepared like that before. And but every time I went there, I got better and better and better. And I think the last time I went there, I think I dropped a couple. I dropped 1 or 2 points and like got a like top point scored. And I thought, I don't know what the big deal was. But then I was quite sore the next day hanging on to the thing.
Yeah, I did the very last meeting at Exeter. Me and Lee Trigger and a couple of others did the mechanics race, and we were literally, Ivan Major went out after us. He did the last 4 laps of Exeter, and we did the last 4 laps before that. But I had a helmet on. I was on Krista Marsh's bike, and I had trainers, and I did 4 laps of Exeter. and trying to beat 3 other mechanics, and it was stupid because it was so rough because you're going down the straight and you're like, yeah, mental. But it was hell of a track. There was a buzz just watching it there.
Yeah, I think it was a track definitely that had a lot of character. Seeing some guys, especially the home guys, used to bounce off turn 4 there was pretty crazy.
What's going on with your screen? You've gone sideways. So who's the best rider you've ever ridden with or against? Oh, Rory's gone. Rory's still there? Can you hear me? Well, I think that's it for Rory. I'll see if he comes back in a second. So yeah, great show again. I think it's a shame that Rory's connection has gone there. We'll leave it there for a second or two. So Monday night at 7 o'clock we have Robert Lambert. He is coming on the show. He's just said his internet's gone. That's 2 of them tonight. Yeah, so Robert Lambert's coming on the show at 7 o'clock on Monday. We did say we're not going to swap and change the days, but Robert said he can't do Tuesday because he's got to be at Ribnick and he's got to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning on the Wednesday morning. So he wants to make sure he's tucked up in bed and prepared for his meeting instead of like being up late talking crap to us. So we agreed that we wanted to do the show with the rider that we wanted to do it with. So Monday night will be Robert Lambert, which will be a great show. The guy's truly on form at the moment. Also, what else was I going to say? There was something else. Gold stars. I'm going to make a little video because a load of people said they bought those gold stars to promote our videos last week, which we really appreciate. That's amazing. But then people couldn't work out how to actually give them to us. So I don't know myself. I can't do it because I'm admin of the account. So I will borrow somebody else's phone and I'll go through it and make a little video to show you how to do that if you want to do it. But you don't have to. It's no biggie. It's not really benefiting us that much. It's more about getting the video out to more people. So right, I'm going to leave it there. It's been good chatting to you all, and we'll see you on Monday. Adios. See ya.